Scene script. Have you ever wondered what single event sparked the flame of World War II? It's a thought-provoking question, isn't it? The answer, however, isn't as straightforward as it might seem. The seeds of the Second World War were sown long before the first shots were fired. One of the key factors was the Treaty of Versailles, a peace agreement meant to end World War I. Instead of fostering harmony, it stirred resentment. Particularly in Germany, the treaty was seen as a diktat, a dictated peace. It imposed heavy reparations and territorial losses on the defeated nation, leading to economic hardship and national humiliation. Amid this turmoil, a certain figure began to rise to prominence: Adolf Hitler. Hitler and his National Socialist German Workers' Party, better known as the Nazi Party, exploited the discontent and unrest. Hitler's charismatic speeches promised a return to German strength and pride. His promise of a better future resonated with a population desperate for change. But promises weren't enough. Hitler needed a show of force, a demonstration of the power he claimed to wield, and so he turned his eyes to Poland. Poland was a symbol, a tangible representation of the treaty's perceived injustice. Its invasion would be a direct challenge to the international order. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler's forces crossed the Polish border. Blitzkrieg tactics, a new form of warfare emphasizing speed and surprise, were unleashed. Poland's defenses were overwhelmed, its territory carved up once again by powerful neighbors. This act of aggression was met with global condemnation. Britain and France, bound by treaties to protect Poland, declared war on Germany. Other nations soon followed suit. What had started as a regional conflict rapidly escalated into a global war. And thus, with a single invasion, the world was plunged into an unprecedented war. The spark had been ignited, the flames of World War II had begun to burn, and history, as we know it, would never be the same. With the world at war, how did the Axis powers seize control so quickly? It's not a simple answer, but it begins with Germany's innovative military strategy, the Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. This aggressive tactic relied on speed and surprise to catch the enemy off guard. Picture a well-oiled machine with tanks, aircraft, and infantry all working together, moving swiftly and striking hard. It was a departure from the trench warfare of World War I, and it was devastatingly effective. Germany's Blitzkrieg first showed its teeth during the invasion of Poland in September of 1939. The world watched in shock as Poland fell in less than a month. The success of the Blitzkrieg was a wake-up call to the rest of Europe, but it wasn't enough to stop the German war machine. Next on Germany's list was France. The French believed their heavily fortified Maginot Line would keep them safe, but the Germans had other plans. In a surprising move, they bypassed the Maginot Line by invading through the Ardennes forest, a region thought to be impassable by tanks. France capitulated in less than 2 months, shocking the world once again. While Germany was making its moves in Europe, its ally Japan was expanding its empire in Asia. Japan's invasions were marked by rapid advances and brutal occupation policies. They swept through Manchuria, China, and Southeast Asia, leaving a trail of destruction and suffering in their wake. The Axis powers were not invincible, but their rapid expansion was a testament to their military prowess and strategic brilliance. They exploited weaknesses, surprised their enemies, and changed the rules of warfare. In just a few short years, the Axis powers had a stranglehold on vast territories. But as we'll see in the next scene, their rapid advance would eventually meet resistance. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, and the tide of war was about to turn. But that's a story for another time. For now, let's remember. In just a few short years, the Axis powers had a stranglehold on vast territories. How did the Allies turn the tide and begin to push back against the Axis powers? This question brings us to the pivotal moments in history, where the course of the Second World War was dramatically altered. Let's delve into the significant turning points that marked the shift in momentum. The Battle of Stalingrad, a brutal face-off from July 1942 to February 1943, is often cited as a key turning point in the war. This bitter winter battle was marked by desperate close-quarters combat and horrific conditions. The Red Army's eventual victory resulted in heavy losses for the German forces, both in manpower and morale. This was the first major defeat of Hitler's armies on the Eastern Front. and it signaled the beginning of a series of retreats. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, jolted the United States out of neutrality. This surprise attack by the Japanese led to the US declaring war on the Axis powers. The entrance of the United States into the conflict added a significant boost to the Allied forces in terms of resources and manpower. And then came D-Day, June 6, 1944. This massive amphibious invasion marked the start of the end for Germany's hold on Western Europe. Thousands of troops from the United States, Britain, and Canada stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, in a coordinated assault. The successful invasion opened up a second front against the Nazis, putting them in a two-front war they could not sustain. These events, the Battle of Stalingrad, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and the D-Day invasion, were not just battles. They were turning points that shifted the balance of power, marking a significant change in the war's direction. It was through these monumental moments, amidst the chaos and the carnage, that the Allies began to push back, to turn the tide against the seemingly unstoppable Axis powers. These crucial battles marked the beginning of the end for the Axis powers. What brought about the end of the most devastating war in human history? Let's walk through the final stages of World War II, a series of events that forever changed the course of global history. As we delve into 1945, we find the Allied forces closing in on Berlin. The city, once a symbol of Nazi power, was now under relentless attack. The fall of Berlin was inevitable, but it was far from the final chapter of the war. Meanwhile, halfway around the world, the United States was considering a drastic and controversial measure to hasten the end of the war in the Pacific. The development of atomic weaponry, a project shrouded in utmost secrecy, was about to take center stage. In August, 2 of these devastating weapons were used on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The destruction was unprecedented, the human cost unimaginable. These 2 atomic bombings marked a chilling milestone in warfare. They showcased the terrifying power of nuclear weapons and set the stage for a new era of global politics and conflict. Yet they also served their intended purpose, to bring about a swift end to the war. In the wake of such devastation, both Germany and Japan surrendered unconditionally. The once formidable Axis powers were now defeated, their dreams of global domination shattered. Germany's surrender came first on May 7, in a small schoolhouse in Reims, France. Japan, reeling from the atomic bombings, followed suit on August 15. In the end, it took a combination of relentless military pressure, strategic alliances, and the horrifying power of new technology to bring World War II to a close. The world had never seen a conflict of such scale and devastation before, and it left a lasting impact on every nation involved. And so, after 6 long and brutal years, World War II finally came to an end. But the echoes of this conflict would resonate for decades to come, shaping the world we live in today. What was the world like after the smoke of World War II had cleared? As the dust settled and the echoes of gunfire subsided, the world began to grapple with the aftermath of the most devastating conflict in human history. In the wake of the war, the nations of the world were faced with an urgent need to prevent such a catastrophe from recurring. Thus, the United Nations was born. Established on October 24, 1945, the United Nations sought to promote international cooperation and maintain global peace and security. The scars of the war were still fresh, and the hope was that through this new organization, nations could resolve their differences peacefully, averting the horrors of another global conflict. Yet, as the world sought peace, new tensions began to emerge. The end of World War II marked the start of the Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension between the 2 superpowers that emerged from the war: the United States and the Soviet Union. These 2 nations, once allies during the war, found themselves on opposite sides of an ideological divide. The Cold War, which lasted from 1947 to 1991, was marked by a constant threat of nuclear war and a series of proxy wars in various parts of the world. Meanwhile, in Europe, the end of World War II led to the division of Germany, The Allies split the nation into 4 zones, each occupied by one of the 4 major Allied powers: the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and the Soviet Union. This division was a precursor to the formation of 2 separate German states in 1949, the Federal Republic of Germany, commonly known as West Germany, and the German Democratic Republic, or East Germany. The division of Germany became a symbol of the broader divide between the democratic West and the communist East. World War II forever changed the landscape of the world, its effects still felt to this day. It was a conflict that reshaped nations, redefined international relations, and left an indelible mark on the pages of history. As we reflect on this period, let's remember not only the conflict, but also the lessons it taught us about the cost of war and the value of peace.